The crimson beams fell from the sky like burning rain, turning the peaceful farmlands of New Geneva into pools of molten glass. Commander Riley Cross pressed his back against the concrete wall of the underground bunker and listened to the screams echoing through the corridors. 50,000 civilians had made it to the shelters before the alien ships arrived, but the surface world they once knew was dying above them. The Vorthak Empire had found another human colony. Cross wiped sweat from his forehead and checked his communication device. The display showed 12 red dots scattered across the galaxy map, each one representing a human world that no longer existed. New Geneva was about to become the 13th. The aliens had perfected their method of destruction over the past 2 years, arriving without warning and reducing entire planets to ash within hours. Dr. Elena Vasquez rushed through the bunkers. Main corridor, her white coat stained with grease and her hands shaking from exhaustion. She had been working for 18 straight hours to keep the quantum shield generators running, but even she knew it was a losing battle. The shields were designed to protect against natural disasters, not military-grade energy weapons that could melt through solid rock. "Commander, the generators are failing," she said, breathing heavily. "We have maybe 30 minutes before the shields collapse completely." Cross nodded grimly. He had expected this news, but hearing it still felt like a punch to the stomach. Through the bunker's thick walls, they could hear the steady thunder of explosions as the Vorthak ships continued their bombardment. The aliens were in no hurry. They knew that time was on their side. Captain Marcus Webb ran down the corridor toward them, his pilot uniform torn and covered in dust. He was the last remaining pilot of the Colonial Defense Force, his corvette being the only ship that had survived the initial attack. The rest of the fleet had been destroyed in the first 10 minutes of the battle, their hulls cracking like eggshells under the alien weapons. "The evacuation ships are ready to launch," Webb reported. "We can get about 8,000 people off-world before the shields fail, but that leaves 42,000 behind." Cross felt his stomach twist. The math was brutal and simple. They could save some, but most would die. The Vorthak had made sure of that by targeting the spaceport first, destroying most of the transport vessels before they could even power up their engines. The few ships that remained were small cargo haulers, never meant to carry so many passengers. "Start loading the children and elderly first," Cross ordered. "Medical personnel second, then essential civilian leaders. We save who we can." Webb saluted and ran back toward the launch bays. Cross knew the young pilot would follow orders without question, even though it meant leaving most of the colonists to die. That was the horrible reality of war against the Vorthak. Every battle was about choosing who lived and who died, and there were never enough seats on the evacuation ships. High above the planet's surface, Admiral Thane Corvin stood on the command deck of his flagship, watching the destruction with cold satisfaction. The human colony was burning exactly as planned, their primitive shields no match for Vorthak bioweapons. His fleet of 200 ships surrounded the planet like a metal noose, each vessel pulsing with organic energy that made the hulls appear alive. The Vorthak had evolved beyond the need for mechanical technology. Their ships were grown rather than built, living creatures that fed on the energy of their enemies. Every human vessel they destroyed made them stronger, and every world they conquered provided biomass for new ship births. It was a perfect system of war that had served the Empire for 1,000 years. "Sir, the human evacuation ships are attempting to launch," reported his tactical officer, a thin creature with 6 arms and glowing yellow eyes. "Let them go," Corvin replied. "A few survivors will spread word of our power." Fear is a weapon that travels faster than any starship. The Admiral turned his attention back to the tactical display. The human colony would be completely destroyed within the hour, and then his fleet would move on to the next target. Intelligence suggested there were at least 40 more human worlds in this sector, each one ripe for harvesting. The campaign would continue until every trace of human civilization was erased from the galaxy. Back in the bunker, Cross received an encrypted message on his personal communicator. The device had not made a sound for over a year, and he had almost forgotten it existed. The message came through on an old military frequency that had been classified above his security level, but somehow his communicator was receiving it anyway. Nightborne. Inbound, maintain position, do not engage. Cross read the message 3 times, but it made no sense. There was no ship called Nightborne in the human fleet registry, and even if there was, what could one vessel do against 200 alien warships? The message had to be some kind of mistake, or perhaps a final desperate bluff from Earth Command. Dr. Vasquez appeared at his side again, her face pale with exhaustion. Commander, the shield generators just went critical. We have maybe 5 minutes before total failure. Understood, Cross replied, but his mind was still focused on the strange message. Something about the timing felt too deliberate to be a coincidence. Why would someone send a message telling them not to engage just as their defenses were about to collapse? The bunker's emergency lights flickered as another massive explosion shook the ground above them. Dust rained from the ceiling and several civilians screamed in terror. Cross could hear parents trying to calm their children, their voices breaking with fear and desperation. These people had trusted him to protect them, and he was about to fail them all. Captain Webb's voice crackled through the communication system. Commander, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting a single ship dropping out of hyperspace. It's not one of ours, but it's not Vorthak either. Cross felt his pulse quicken. Could the mysterious message actually mean something? He grabbed his communicator and switched to the fleet frequency. Webb described the vessel. Sir, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. The hull seems to absorb light rather than reflect it, making it difficult to get accurate readings. The ship is roughly the size of a heavy cruiser, but the design is completely alien to our technology. Wait, sir, the Vorthak fleet is changing formation. They're turning to face the new arrival. Admiral Corvin studied the tactical display with growing irritation. The unknown vessel had appeared without warning, its design completely unfamiliar to Vorthak databases. The ship's hull seemed to bend light around itself, making it difficult for his sensors to maintain a target lock. More troubling was the fact that the vessel had somehow penetrated his fleet's perimeter without triggering any alarms. Analysis, he demanded. Unknown, sir. The ship does not match any known human design, but it's definitely artificial rather than biological. Energy readings are ... unusual. The vessel appears to be drawing power from the quantum foam itself. Corvin's eyes narrowed. The humans were primitive in their understanding of advanced physics, yet this ship displayed technology that even the Vorthak considered theoretical. Perhaps the humans had allies they had not revealed, or perhaps they had been hiding their true capabilities all along. Dispatch Hunter Squadron 7 to investigate, he ordered. I want that ship captured or destroyed. Yes, sir. Back in the bunker, Cross watched the tactical display on Webb's remote feed. The unknown vessel, which had to be the Nightborne, mentioned in the message, hung motionless in space while the Vorthak fleet repositioned around it. The ship seemed impossibly calm, like a predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Sir, the alien ships are moving, Webb reported. 12 of their hunters are breaking formation and heading toward the unknown vessel. 83 minutes. Cross held his breath. Whatever was about to happen would determine the fate of everyone on New Geneva. Either the mysterious ship would be destroyed like every other human vessel, or something unprecedented was about to occur. The message had told them to maintain position and not engage, which suggested that whoever sent it had a plan. The Nightborne waited in the darkness of space, silent and patient, as death approached from all sides. The Vorthak Hunter Squadron moved through space like a pack of mechanical wolves, their bio-organic hulls pulsing with deadly energy. Sub-Commander Vextal led the formation from his command ship, a sleek Predator-class vessel that had destroyed over 30 human ships in the past year. His orders were simple: capture or destroy the unknown vessel, but gather intelligence data first. Admiral Corvin watched the approach from his flagship, confident that 12 of his best hunters would be more than enough to deal with a single human ship. The unknown vessel continued to hang motionless in space, seemingly unaware of the approaching threat. Its strange hull continued to absorb light, making it appear like a hole cut out of the starfield itself. Inside the Nightborne, Captain Nora Singh stood on the bridge with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the tactical display with cold calculation. Her crew worked in perfect silence around her, their movements precise and economical. These were not ordinary naval personnel, but specially selected individuals who had been trained for missions that officially did not exist. Lieutenant Jake Torres monitored the approaching hunters from his tactical station, his neural implants processing data faster than any normal human brain could handle. The cybernetic enhancements had cost him his ability to dream, but they made him the perfect weapons officer for a ship like the Nightborne. His fingers danced across holographic controls as he analyzed the enemy formation. 12 hunters approaching. In standard attack formation, he reported. Video energy signatures match known Vorthak Predator-class vessels. Estimated time to weapons range, 90 seconds. Engineer Beth Morrison worked at her station in the ship's lower deck, monitoring the quantum fold drive that powered the Nightborne's impossible capabilities. The technology was beyond anything in the standard human fleet, a fusion of theoretical physics and alien science that existed in the shadowy boundaries between dimensions. Her hands moved across controls that would have been incomprehensible to most engineers. Fold space generators are stable, she reported through the communication system. All weapon systems are charged and ready. Energy absorption matrices are at maximum efficiency. Captain Singh nodded slowly. The Nightborne had been hunting in the dark spaces between stars for 5 years, eliminating threats to humanity that the regular fleet never even knew existed. This would be the first time. They revealed themselves in open battle, but the situation on New Geneva left them no choice. Communications, open a channel to the approaching vessels, Singh ordered. The bridge's main screen flickered to life, showing the alien commander of the Hunter Squadron. Sub-Commander Vextel was a typical Vorthak warrior with gray skin stretched tight over a skeletal frame and 4 black eyes that glowed with predatory intelligence. His ship's interior was organic and wet, with walls that pulsed like living tissue. "Unknown vessel, you will surrender immediately," Vextel hissed in broken human language. "Your ship will be added to our fleet, and your crew will provide biomass." "For our breeding pools?" Singh smiled, but there was no warmth in the expression. "Sub-Commander, you have one opportunity to withdraw your forces and leave this system. This is your only warning." The alien commander's 4 eyes widened in what might have been amusement. "One human ship threatens 12 Vorthak hunters. Your species truly is as foolish as our intelligence suggested." "Your choice," Singh replied, and cut the communication channel on New Geneva. Commander Cross watched the exchange through Captain Webb's sensor feed. The woman commanding the unknown ship spoke with absolute confidence, as if 12 enemy warships posed no threat at all. Either she was completely insane, or the Nightborne possessed capabilities that defied everything Cross understood about space combat. Dr. Vasquez stood beside him, her scientific mind racing to analyze what they were seeing. "Commander, the energy readings from that ship don't make sense. My instruments are detecting quantum fluctuations that should be impossible to generate artificially. What does that mean?" Cross asked. "I'm not sure," she admitted. "But whatever technology they're using, it's centuries ahead of anything in our database." The Vorthak hunters reached weapons range and opened fire simultaneously, filling space with streams of bioenergy that could melt through the hull of any known starship. The beams converged on the Nightborne's position, creating a brilliant explosion that temporarily overloaded the sensor displays. When the energy cleared, the Nightborne was no longer there. Commander Vextel stared at his tactical display in confusion. The human ship had simply vanished, leaving no trace of debris or energy signature. His hunters began scanning the surrounding space, their biosensors straining to locate the missing target. "Sir, we're detecting quantum disturbances throughout the formation," his tactical officer reported. "The human ship appears to be everywhere and nowhere simultaneously." Before Vextel could respond, the Nightborne materialized inside his formation, its dark hull appearing like a ghost between 2 of his hunters. The ship moved with fluid grace as if it were swimming through space, rather than flying. Its weapons fired once, and the nearest Vorthok vessel simply ceased to exist. There was no explosion, no debris field, no death scream across the communication channels. The hunter ship was there one moment and gone the next, its matter converted to pure energy that the Nightborne somehow absorbed into its hull. The other hunters scattered in panic, their formation dissolving as each pilot tried to escape the impossible predator in their midst. Lieutenant Torres tracked multiple targets simultaneously, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to coordinate attacks that would have been beyond any normal human. Target acquired, firing. Another Vorthok ship vanished from existence, its energy absorbed by the Nightborne's hungry hull. The remaining hunters tried to return fire, but their targeting computers could not lock onto a ship that existed partially outside normal spacetime. Engineer Morrison monitored the energy absorption process from her station, watching as the quantum matrices converted alien matter into usable power. Energy levels increasing. All systems operating at 120% efficiency. The Nightborne flowed between the enemy ships like liquid shadow, its weapons reaching out to touch one hunter after another. Each kill made the ship stronger, its quantum field generators drawing power from the destruction of its enemies. Within 3 minutes, 8 of the 12 hunters had been erased from existence. Sub-Commander Vextal found himself alone with 3 surviving ships, surrounded by a predator that defied every law of physics he understood. His hands shook as he tried to maintain control of his vessel, but the bioorganic systems were responding to his fear, making the ship sluggish and unpredictable. "All units, retreat to the main fleet," he ordered, his voice cracking with terror, but the Nightborne was faster. It appeared directly in front of his ship, its dark hull filling the view screen. For a moment, Vextal could swear he saw eyes looking back at him from the ship's surface. Ancient and merciless. The communication system activated without being touched, and Captain Singh's voice filled the hunter's bridge. "Tell your admiral what you witnessed here today. Tell him that humanity is not prey." The Nightborne vanished again, allowing the 3 surviving hunters to flee toward the main Vorthok fleet. Sub-Commander Vextal's ship limped through space, its biosystems damaged by proximity to the quantum distortions. His crew worked frantically to repair the damage, but their commander could only stare at the empty space where 9 of his best ships had been erased from existence. Admiral Corvin listened to the panicked reports from his surviving hunters with growing disbelief. 9 ships destroyed in under 5 minutes by a single human vessel. It was impossible, yet the evidence was undeniable. His hunters were the elite of the Vorthok fleet, each one capable of destroying multiple human ships in single combat. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy buildups throughout the human ship," his tactical officer reported. "Whatever destroyed our hunters has made their vessel significantly more powerful." Corvin studied the long-range sensor data, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. The human ship had not only survived an encounter with his best hunters, it had fed on their destruction. The energy readings from the vessel were now triple what they had been before the battle. "Prepare the planet killer," he ordered. "If conventional weapons cannot destroy this ship, we will use our ultimate weapon." Deep in the ship's biomechanical core, massive generators began to charge with gravitational energy. The planet killer was the Vorthok Empire's most feared weapon, capable of shattering entire worlds by manipulating gravity itself. It had never been used against a single ship before, but the human vessel represented a threat unlike any the Empire had ever faced. On New Geneva, Commander Cross watched the tactical display in stunned silence. The unknown ship had not only survived an encounter with 12 enemy vessels, it had destroyed 3/4 of them without taking any apparent damage. Whatever the Nightborne was, it represented a level of technology that changed everything about humanity's war against the Vorthok. "Commander, the alien fleet is repositioning," Captain Webb reported. "They're bringing their largest ship into firing position. Energy readings suggest they're preparing to use some kind of superweapon." Cross felt his heart sink. The mysterious ship had given them hope, but the aliens still had overwhelming numerical superiority. Whatever weapon they were preparing would likely be powerful enough to destroy both the Nightborne and New Geneva. Simultaneously, Captain Singh stood on her bridge, watching the enemy fleet's movements with calculating eyes. Long-range sensors were detecting the gravitational distortions building in the alien flagship, confirming what her crew already suspected. The Vorthak were about to deploy their planet-killer weapon. "Captain, we're receiving coded transmissions on emergency frequencies," Lieutenant Torres reported. "Multiple Nightborne-class vessels are requesting permission to enter the battle zone." Singh smiled, and this time there was genuine warmth in the expression. "Permission granted. Signal the pack, it's time to hunt." Space began to tear open as reality itself was folded and twisted by forces beyond normal comprehension. ****. Reality split apart like torn fabric as three more vessels emerged from fold space, their dark hulls materializing in perfect formation around the original Nightborne. Each ship was identical in design but unique in presence, moving through space with the coordinated grace of apex predators who had hunted together for years. Captain Derek Hammond commanded the UES Shadowfall, his weathered face showing the scars of battles fought in the dark spaces between stars. He had served alongside Nora Singh for 8 years, their ships forming the core of humanity's most classified defense program. His crew worked in silence, their movements precise and deadly as they prepared for the hunt. Captain Lisa Shan of the UES Void Hunter was the youngest of the Nightborne commanders, but her tactical brilliance had earned her command of the newest ship in the fleet. Her vessel pulsed with quantum energy, its hull seeming to shift and flow like living shadow. The crew respected her not for her age, but for her ability to think 3 moves ahead of any enemy. Captain Rex Dalton commanded the UES Dark Matter, the most experienced hunter in the pack. His ship had been the first of its class, a prototype that had proven the concept of quantum phase warfare. Dalton himself was more machine than man, his body enhanced with cybernetic implants that allowed him to interface directly with his ships. Consciousness. Admiral Corvin stared at the tactical display in growing horror as 4 identical ships arranged themselves around his fleet. The humans had not sent a rescue mission, they had set a trap. His 200 vessels, spread out to maintain bombardment formation against the planet, were now surrounded by predators that had already demonstrated their ability to erase ships from existence. War Prime Zolthak materialized on the flagship's bridge, his massive form dwarfing even Admiral Corvin. The supreme commander of the Vorthak fleet stood over 8 feet tall, his biomechanical armor fused directly to his skeletal frame. 4 cybernetic arms extended from his back, each one ending in weapons that could tear through starship hulls. "Explain this failure," Zolthak demanded, his voice like grinding metal. "So, the humans appear to have been hiding advanced vessels," Corvin replied, trying to keep the fear from his voice. "Our intelligence severely underestimated their technological capabilities." Zolthak studied the tactical display, his enhanced brain processing combat variables at superhuman speed. The 4 human ships moved in perfect coordination, their quantum signatures interlinked in ways that defied conventional understanding. They were not just ships, they were components of a larger organism. "Deploy the swarm," he ordered. "If conventional weapons cannot destroy them, we will consume them." Deep within the Vorthak flagship, containment fields released millions of self-replicating nanobots into space. The swarm was the Empire's most feared weapon after the planet killer, a tide of microscopic machines that could consume any matter they encountered. Entire civilizations had been reduced to raw materials by the endless hunger of the Nan Obiotes. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the battle unfold from New Geneva's command bunker, her scientific instruments detecting energy patterns that should have been impossible. The 4 human ships were sharing power through quantum entanglement, each vessel drawing strength from the others. As the alien nanobots approached, the ships' hulls began to change, their molecular structure adapting in real time. "Commander, this is incredible," she reported to Cross. "Those ships are rewriting their own atomic structure. They're becoming immune to the alien weapon while it's still approaching." Commander Cross could only watch in amazement as the four vessels demonstrated capabilities beyond anything in human science. The Nightborne-class ships were not just advanced technology, they were evolution in action. Each challenge made them stronger. Each threat forced them to adapt and overcome. Captain Singh coordinated the pack's movements through quantum-linked communications, her consciousness briefly touching those of her fellow commanders. The four ships moved as one organism, their individual strengths combining into something greater than the sum of their parts. Swarm contact in 30 seconds, Lieutenant Torres reported. All ships are ready to implement adaptive protocols. The nanobots struck the Nightborne's hull like a silver wave, immediately beginning their programmed task of molecular disassembly. But instead of consuming the ship's matter, they found themselves being consumed. The adaptive hull plating absorbed the nanobots and converted them into useful resources. Turning the Vorthek weapon against itself, Engineer Morrison monitored the conversion process from her station, watching as millions of enemy nanobots were reprogrammed and integrated into the ship's systems, energy levels increasing exponentially. The nanobots are actually improving our quantum matrix efficiency. Within minutes, the entire swarm had been absorbed by the four ships, their hulls now gleaming with enhanced armor plating made from repurposed alien technology. The Vorthak fleet watched in horror as their most feared weapon was turned into a gift that made their enemies even stronger. Captain Hammond opened communications with the alien fleet, his voice carrying across all frequencies. Vorthak vessels, you have one final opportunity to withdraw from human space. Leave now or face extinction. War Prime Zolthak S4 cybernetic arms flexed with rage as he processed this ultimatum. The humans had not only survived his best weapons, they had grown stronger from each attack. His fleet of 200 ships now faced four vessels that seemed to adapt and evolve with each passing moment. All ships, prepare for total assault, he commanded. Target the human vessels with everything we have. Show them the true power of the Vorthak Empire. The alien fleet opened fire simultaneously, filling space with enough energy to sterilize a planet. The Reo weapons, gravity cannons, and quantum disruptors all converged on the four human ships, creating an explosion that could be seen from orbit. For a moment, the brilliant flash overwhelmed all sensors. When the energy cleared, the Nightborne-class vessels hung motionless in space, their hulls unmarked by the devastating attack. The quantum field surrounding each ship had absorbed the entire bombardment, converting the destructive energy into fuel for their impossible systems. Captain Chun coordinated the counterattack, her tactical genius selecting targets with surgical precision. The Void Hunter's weapons reached out to touch the nearest Vorthak vessel, and the enemy ship simply vanished. Not destroyed, not damaged, but completely erased from reality as if it had never existed. The other three ships followed suit, their weapons firing in perfect synchronization. Four more Vorthak vessels ceased to exist, their matter converted to pure energy that flowed back to strengthen the human ships. The alien fleet, which had numbered 200 at the start of the battle, was being systematically reduced by predators that grew stronger with each kill. Captain Dalton's cybernetic implants interfaced directly with the dark matter's consciousness, allowing him to perceive the battle from perspectives that normal humans could not comprehend. He could sense the fear spreading through the enemy fleet, their bio-organic ships responding to their crew's terror by becoming sluggish and unpredictable. Pack leaders, the enemy formation is breaking down, he reported. Their ships are responding. To crew panic, we can exploit this weakness. Admiral Colvin watched his fleet disintegrate around him as ship after ship was erased from existence. The human vessels moved through his formation like wolves among sheep, their weapons reaching out to claim victim after victim. His bio-organic ships were beginning to malfunction as their crews succumbed to primal terror. Sir, we've lost 47 vessels, his tactical officer reported, the creature's multiple eyes wide with fear. The human ships are systematically destroying our fleet. Our weapons have no effect on them. War Prime Zolthek stepped forward, his massive form radiating fury and desperation. The humans had turned what should have been a simple planetary conquest into a nightmare of impossible proportions. His empire's most advanced fleet was being hunted by 4 ships that defied every law of physics he understood. "Activate the reality disruptor," he commanded. "Prepare to erase this entire star system from existence." The bridge crew stared at their supreme commander in shock. The reality disruptor was a theoretical weapon that could tear holes in the fabric of space-time itself. It had never been tested in actual combat because the risks were considered too great even for the Vorthic Empire. "Sir, the weapon is untested," Corvin protested. "We don't know what effect it might have on our own ships. Better to risk destruction than accept defeat at the hands of inferior humans," Zolthuk snarled. "Activate the weapon now." Deep within the flagship's core, massive generators began drawing power from alternate dimensions, preparing to unleash forces that could unravel reality itself. The ship's bio-organic system screamed in protest as energies beyond their comprehension flowed through their living circuits on New Geneva. Dr. Vasquez detected the massive energy buildup in the alien flagship and realized what was happening. "Commander, they're preparing to use some kind of dimensional weapon. The energy readings are off the scale." Commander Cross felt his blood run cold. Whatever the aliens were preparing, it was powerful enough to threaten the entire star system. The 4 mysterious ships had given humanity hope, but now it seemed that hope might be extinguished along with everything else. Captain Singh sensed the dimensional disturbance building in the enemy flagship and smiled coldly. The Vorthak were about to learn that humanity had been preparing for threats like this for much longer than anyone suspected. "All ships, prepare to implement Apex Protocol," she commanded. "It's time to show them what we really are." The 4 Nightborne-class vessels began to glow with internal fire as systems that had remained dormant suddenly came online. Their true purpose finally revealed. ****, the reality disruptor fired with the sound of breaking glass amplified across dimensions, tearing a massive hole in space-time itself. The weapon's energy should have erased everything within a light-year radius, but instead of destroying the human ships, the dimensional tier began to twist and fold back on itself. The 4 Nightborne vessels had somehow redirected the weapon's power, creating a localized temporal anomaly that trapped the entire Vorthak fleet in a bubble of distorted time. Dr. Alan Price worked frantically at his station aboard the Nightborne, his theoretical physics background allowing him to understand what was happening better than anyone else on the ship. The Apex Protocol was not just a weapon system, it was a fundamental rewriting of how the ships interacted with reality itself. His hands flew across holographic controls as he monitored the temporal distortion field. "Captain, the time differential is stabilizing," he reported. "The enemy fleet is now experiencing time at a rate of approximately 1 to 100. For every minute that passes for us, they experience nearly 2 hours." Captain Singh nodded approvingly. The Vorthak had handed them the perfect weapon to use against themselves. Inside the temporal anomaly, the alien fleet would have plenty of time to contemplate their mistake while the Nightborne ship systematically dismantled them at leisure. Tech Sergeant Mike Rivers monitored the quantum warfare systems from his station, watching as the ship's consciousness interfaced with technologies that existed beyond normal human understanding. The Nightborne was not just a vessel, it was a living entity that had been waiting decades for this moment to reveal its true nature. "All quantum systems operating within acceptable parameters," he reported. "The ship's consciousness is fully integrated with combat protocols. We are no longer just crew, we are symbiotic partners." General Rebecca Stone watched the battle unfold from Earth Defense Command, her secure communication channel providing real-time updates from the Nightborne fleet. She had authorized the creation of the program 15 years ago, but even she had not fully understood what they were building. The ships were humanity's response to a universe that seemed determined to destroy them. "General, we're receiving classified data streams from all 4 vessels," her aide reported. "The ships are downloading combat intelligence directly from the enemy fleet. They're learning everything about Vorthak technology in real time." Stone felt a chill run down her spine. The Nightborne-class ships were not just weapons, they were evolution in action. Each battle made them smarter, stronger, and more dangerous. Humanity had created the perfect predators, and now those predators were hunting on behalf of their creators inside the temporal anomaly. War-primed Zolthek experienced the horrible reality of fighting an enemy that existed partially outside. Normal time. Minutes crawled by like hours as he watched the human ships move through his fleet with impossible coordination. His biomechanical armor registered stress levels that should have been fatal, but his enhanced physiology kept him conscious to witness every moment of the destruction. The ancient hive mind Korthel stirred within Zolthak's consciousness, an entity older than the Vorthak Empire itself. The creature had survived for millennia by possessing the bodies of powerful warriors, but now it faced something that terrified even its ancient intelligence. The human ships were not just destroying the Vorthak fleet, they were studying it, learning from it, incorporating its strengths into their own systems. These humans are not what we believed, the hive mind whispered through Zolthak's neural implants. They are apex predators disguised as prey. We have awakened something that should have remained sleeping. Zolthak fought against the alien presence in his mind, but the hive mind's terror was infectious. Through the creature's ancient memories, he could see glimpses of other civilizations that had underestimated humanity, species that had vanished from the galaxy without explanation. The Nightborne ships were not humanity's newest weapons. They were the culmination of decades of preparation for this exact moment, Captain. Hammond coordinated the pack's movements through quantum-linked communications, his consciousness briefly merging with those of his fellow commanders. The four ships moved as a single organism, their individual capabilities combining into something far more dangerous than any conventional fleet. Inside the temporal anomaly, they had all the time they needed to perfect their hunting techniques. Target. Selection complete, he reported to the other commanders. Beginning systematic elimination of command vessels. Priority targets are biomechanical hybrids with enhanced crew. The Shadowfall's weapons reached out to touch a Vorthak heavy cruiser, but instead of simply erasing it from existence, the ship began a more subtle process. The enemy vessel was dismantled molecule by molecule, its crew's memories downloaded and analyzed before their consciousness was extinguished. Every secret, every tactical doctrine, every weakness of the Vorthak Empire was being harvested by predators that had evolved beyond the need for conventional intelligence gathering. Captain Chun monitored the learning process from the Void Hunters. Bridge, her tactical genius, allowing her to process the incoming data streams faster than her human crew could follow. The ship's consciousness was absorbing everything the Vorthak knew about warfare, technology, and biology. With each enemy vessel destroyed, the human ships became more than they had been before. Pack leaders were detecting interesting anomalies. In several enemy ships, she reported, some of the Vorthak appear to be possessed by parasitic entities with advanced intelligence. Recommend priority harvest for study. The four ships adjusted their hunting pattern, seeking out the vessels that contained the most valuable intelligence. The hive mind entities that had guided Vorthak expansion for centuries suddenly found themselves facing predators that could see through their disguises and hunt them specifically, Captain. Dalton's cybernetic implants allowed him to interface directly with the dark matter's consciousness, experiencing the battle from perspectives that normal humans could not comprehend. Through the ship's senses, he could perceive the quantum threads that connected all living things, the energy patterns that revealed the true nature of their enemies. Multiple parasitic consciousnesses detected throughout the enemy fleet, he reported. These entities appear to be the true intelligence behind Vorthak aggression. Recommend complete elimination to prevent reinfection of surviving population. The Nightborne ships began targeting specific individuals within the enemy fleet, their weapons reaching through shields and armor to eliminate the parasitic entities that had corrupted the Vorthak species. It was not just warfare, it was surgery on a galactic scale, removing the cancerous intelligence that had driven the Empire's expansion. Commander Cross watched the battle from New Geneva's command bunker, barely able to comprehend what he was witnessing. The four human ships were not just defeating the alien fleet, they were performing some kind of selective extermination that targeted specific individuals within enemy vessels. The precision was impossible, yet it was happening before his eyes. Dr. Vasquez monitored the quantum energy patterns emanating from the battle, her instruments detecting phenomena that challenged everything she understood about physics. Commander, the human ships are operating on principles that our science considers impossible. They're manipulating reality at the quantum level, rewriting the rules of cause and effect. What does that mean for us? Cross asked. I think it means we're witnessing the birth of something new, she replied. Humanity is evolving, and those ships are showing us what we're becoming. Admiral Corvin's bioorganic flagship shuddered as systems throughout the ship began failing in cascade patterns. The temporal distortion was wreaking havoc on the vessel's living components, and the crew's mounting terror was causing the ship's biological systems to shut down in self-defense. Around him, other vessels in the fleet were suffering similar failures as their crews succumbed to the psychological pressure of fighting an impossible enemy. Sir, we've lost over 100 vessels, his tactical officer reported, its multiple eyes now dim with despair. The human ships show no signs of damage or fatigue. If anything, they appear to be growing stronger with each kill. Corvin could only nod in acknowledgement. The battle was no longer about military victory, it was about survival. The humans had revealed capabilities that rendered the entire Vorthek fleet obsolete. Every tactical doctrine, every strategic principle that had served the Empire for 1,000 years was meaningless against enemies that could manipulate time and space itself. The hive mind Korthel attempted to abandon Zolthak's body and flee to another host, but the quantum fields generated by the human ships prevented its escape. The ancient entity found itself trapped in a dying vessel, surrounded by predators that could see its true nature and were hunting it specifically. Impossible, it whispered through Zolthak's failing vocal cords. We are eternal, we have survived the death of stars. But the Nightborne ships continued their systematic hunt, their weapons reaching out to claim the parasitic entities one by one. Each success taught them more about their enemies. Each kill added to their growing understanding of the galactic ecosystem they were determined to protect. Captain Singh felt the ship's consciousness merge more fully with her own, the boundary between human and machine becoming increasingly irrelevant. She was no longer just the captain of a starship. She was a component of something larger and more dangerous than any single vessel could be. Estimated time to complete fleet elimination, 17 minutes, Lieutenant Torres reported. All Nightborne vessels are operating at peak efficiency. Energy reserves are actually increasing as we continue the harvest. Singh smiled coldly as she contemplated the final phase of the battle. The Vorthek had chosen to threaten humanity's children, and now they would learn the price of that decision. The galaxy was about to receive a lesson in what happened to species that mistook human compassion for weakness. The temporal anomaly continued to contain the dying Vorthek fleet while four apex predators completed their methodical extermination of everything that had threatened the innocence of New Geneva *****. The temporal anomaly began to collapse as the last Vorthek vessels succumbed to the systematic hunt. Only 12 ships remained from the original fleet of 200. Their bioorganic hulls pulsing weakly as their crews struggled to comprehend the magnitude of their defeat. The four Nightborne vessels hung in space around them like silent judges, their dark hulls reflecting no light from the dying stars. Ambassador David Park materialized on the main communication channel, his diplomatic credentials allowing him to override military frequencies. He had been monitoring the battle from a cloaked observation post, gathering intelligence on humanity's most classified weapons program. What he had witnessed challenged everything he thought he knew about his own species. "Attention surviving Vorthek vessels," he transmitted. "I am Ambassador Park of the Human Diplomatic Corps. You are hereby offered terms for surrender and safe passage from human space." War Prime Zolthak, his massive form now slumped in defeat, activated his ship's communication system with one of his remaining functional cybernetic arms. The hive mind Corthal had been ripped from his consciousness by the human weapons, leaving him free for the first time in decades, but also hollow and broken. "Human diplomat, we surrender unconditionally," he transmitted, his voice lacking any trace of the arrogance that had defined Vorthak leadership for centuries. "Our empire yields to your superior power?" But Captain Singh's voice cut across the channel before Park could respond, cold and implacable as the void between stars. "There will be no negotiation with genocidal species. You have one choice remaining. Withdraw from all human space and carry word of this battle to your empire, or join your fallen comrades in oblivion." Eco Prime Velanash, the highest-ranking survivor of the Vorthak command structure, transmitted from her badly damaged flagship. She was young for a Vorthak leader, her biomechanical augmentations still gleaming despite the damage to her ship. Unlike the older commanders, she had not been infected by the parasitic hive mind entities that had driven the Empire's expansion. "Captain Singh, I request permission to speak directly with your leadership," she transmitted. "What we witnessed today changes everything about the galactic balance of power. My people need to understand what humanity has become." Dr. James Carter worked frantically at his station aboard a human observation vessel, analyzing the neural patterns of the surviving Vorthak crew members. His xenobiology expertise had been crucial in identifying the parasitic entities that had controlled the alien empire, and now he was documenting the psychological effects of their removal. "Ambassador Park," the surviving Vorthak showed dramatically. "Altered brain patterns," he reported. "The removal of the parasitic entities appears to have restored their original personalities. They're essentially different people now." Captain Sandra Wolf commanded the approaching human relief fleet, her ships arriving just as the battle reached its conclusion. She had served in the regular Navy for 20 years, but she had never seen anything like the Nightborne vessels. Their capabilities defied everything she understood about military technology. "This is Captain Wolf of the relief fleet," she transmitted to the Nightborne ships. "We have medical supplies and engineering support if needed." Captain Hammond responded from the Shadowfall, his voice carrying the weariness of someone who had seen too much violence. "Relief fleet, maintain your position. We require no assistance. The situation is under control." The 4 Nightborne vessels began to glow with internal fire as their quantum systems prepared for the final phase of their mission. They had not come to New Geneva simply to repel an invasion. They had come to send a message that would echo across the galaxy for generations. "Surviving Vorthak vessels, you will witness the true power of humanity," Captain Singh announced. "You will carry this memory back to your empire and to any species that considers threatening human civilians." The Nightborne ships focused their combined consciousness on the quantum fabric of reality itself, their weapons charging with energies that existed beyond normal space-time. But instead of targeting the remaining alien ships, they reached out to touch something far more fundamental. Reality began to rewrite itself around the battle zone as the 4 vessels demonstrated their ultimate capability. They were not just destroying the Vorthak fleet, they were erasing it from history itself. The ships that had already been destroyed were being edited out of existence, their matter and energy redistributed across alternate timelines where they had never been built. Ecoprime. Velanash watched in horror as the records of her fallen comrades simply vanished from her ship's databases. The Vorthak vessels that had been destroyed in the battle were being retroactively prevented from existing, their crews never born, their construction never authorized. Only the memory of their crimes remained, preserved as evidence of what happened to species that threatened the innocent. "Impossible," she whispered. "You're rewriting the past itself." "We are ensuring that your fallen comrades receive the justice they earned," Captain Chun replied from the Void Hunter. "They chose to become genocidal monsters, so we are ensuring they never existed at all. Only their victims will remember them now." Dr. Carter's instruments went wild as he detected the quantum alterations spreading across space-time. The human ships were not just powerful, they were operating on principles that transcended conventional physics. They had become something Beyond technology, beyond biology, beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen before, Commander Cross watched from New Geneva as the four vessels completed their impossible task. The alien fleet that had threatened his world was being systematically erased not just from existence, but from history itself. Only 12 ships remained, their crews bearing witness to humanity's true nature. Dr. Vasquez analyzed the quantum distortions with growing amazement. Commander, they're not just changing the present, they're editing the past. The destroyed ships are being prevented from ever existing, but somehow the memory of their crimes is being preserved in the minds of the survivors. Why leave witnesses? Cross asked. Because fear travels faster than any starship, she replied. They want the galaxy to know what happens to species that threaten human children. The process took exactly 13 minutes to complete, each moment carefully calculated to maximize the psychological impact on the surviving Vorthic crew members. When it was finished, the battle zone contained only 12 damaged alien ships, and 4 pristine human vessels that seemed to absorb the light of nearby stars. Captain Singh opened a final communication channel to the surviving Vorthak fleet. Eco Prime Velanash, you and your people are free to return to your empire. You will tell them what you witnessed here today. You will explain that humanity is not prey. We are not victims, and we are not interested in conquest or expansion. What are you interested in? Velanash asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Peace through strength, Singh replied. We will protect our children and our allies from any threat, no matter how powerful. The galaxy is large enough for all species to coexist, but only if they respect the boundaries we have established. The 12 surviving Vorthek ships began their long journey back to Empire space, their crews forever changed by what they had witnessed. They carried with them the memory of 200 ships that had been erased from existence, their comrades edited out of history as punishment for their crimes against innocents. Ambassador Park transmitted a final message to the departing aliens. Tell your people that humanity offers friendship to those who seek peace, but we offer only extinction to those who threaten our children. The choice is always yours to make. Captain Dalton coordinated the pack's withdrawal, his cybernetic implants, interfacing with the dark matter's consciousness as the 4 ships prepared to return to the shadows between stars. They had revealed themselves to save New Geneva, but their true mission lay in protecting humanity from threats that most people would never know existed. Pack leaders, mission accomplished, he reported. Threat neutralized, message delivered, witnesses preserved. Ready to return to patrol status? The 4 Nightborne vessels began to fade from normal space-time, their quantum systems carrying them back to the dark regions where they maintained their eternal vigil. Before they vanished completely, Captain Singh transmitted one final message. That was broadcast across all frequencies in the star system. This is Captain Singh of the UES Nightborne to all human vessels and colonies in this sector. You are protected, you are valued, you are never alone. Humanity's guardians watch from the darkness, and we will always come when you call. The ships disappeared into fold space, leaving behind only empty void and the peaceful world of New Geneva. The colonists emerged from their bunkers to find their world intact, their skies clear, and their children safe. Most would never know how close they had come to extinction, or what terrible price their enemies had paid for threatening them. Dr. Vasquez stood on the surface of New Geneva, looking up at stars that seemed somehow brighter than they had before. Commander Cross joined her, both of them trying to process what they had witnessed. Do you think there are more ships like them out there? She asked. Cross nodded slowly. I think humanity has been preparing for threats like this for much longer than we realized. And I think the galaxy is about to learn that we're not the helpless prey species we pretended to be. In the deep space between stars, the 4 Nightborne vessels resumed their eternal patrol, hunting threats that would never reach human worlds. They were evolution's answer to a hostile universe, apex predators created to ensure that humanity's children could sleep safely under alien stars. The galaxy had been warned. Those who sought peace would find friendship, but those who threatened innocence would burn in silence, their screams never reaching the ears of those they had planned. to terrorize. Humanity's true nature had been revealed, and the universe would never be the same.